All right, Off the Edge, episode 29. We are talking about the AFC West, and we are going to be previewing them. And we're going to let you know who's good, who's not good. Sorry for you if you like the teams that aren't good. I can't really help you there. And we're going to be talking about a sleeper. We both have our 4 sleepers from each team in this division. We're really excited to give some guys some recognition that, maybe the Patrick Mahomes of the world gets, but, maybe other guys don't get, right? So that's what that's for. But we're excited. I mean, this is a new series. We're going to be previewing all of the divisions. We thought about doing a full-on tour of the entire NFL, and we kind of realized that that's not possible. There's just not enough days, not enough shows to do that until, and I guess that's a good thing, Cam. There's just not enough shows until the NFL season starts, which that needs to start now.
No, you're right. I'm excited for the NFL season to kick off, and we'll be previewing the teams kind of maybe before the game starts, right? But then after talking about the result there. But yeah, Jake, I'm excited. Like we talked about our top 10 athletes or players from each position. That was a beast. We talked about the draft as well. That was a beast. So now it's a culmination, right, of the people that we talked about at the draft and our top 10 from each team to then place in these divisions. We talked about the sleepers. I like to say, Jake, too, the glue guys, right? The people that kind of do the dirty work, right? Take out the trash, wipe down the windows. They don't really get the love like that, but I'm excited to highlight them as well.
Absolutely. Before we get into that, just want to let you guys know that Bet Online is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. Bet Online continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games, available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code Bleav to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. So, Cam, AFC West standing projections. We're not going to give, no one is going to hold us to win and loss record. I'll put that out on my own time. I'm not going to throw it now because a lot can change, right? But this is kind of the idea, the basis of the hierarchy in the AFC West. And I'm going to give my 4. You give your 4. We'll have an open-ended conversation about it. Starting with 4, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. Number 3, the Denver Broncos. Number 2, the Los Angeles Chargers. And number 1, the reigning, defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, Jake, you flipped it around on me. I didn't realize that you were going to go with that. I have the Broncos as number 4 for me, Jake. And so I'm going to be curious. I'm curious to hear what you're going to say when we break it down. But I got the Broncos at 4. I got the Raiders at 3. I got the Chargers at 2, and then the Chiefs at 1. I think everybody in the country probably does, but I'm curious to hear about your Bronco pick there being number 3 instead of 4.
Yeah, and definitely don't look at this as this is an endorsement of the Broncos being a team that they're not. I mean, I genuinely don't know how good the Broncos are. I know that they're not good enough to win this division. I know that. Yeah. If Russell Wilson comes back to his original form, Cam, this team definitely has a shot to do something. But I'm operating under the idea that Russell Wilson is probably starting to fall off a little bit. He's the most sacked quarterback in the league currently. I mean, he's approaching Brett Favre if he hasn't already broken the record for most times sacked. I don't even know what to say to that. I think we kind of saw it his last year in Seattle, and Seattle saw it, and that's why they moved on. And then this past year, everyone wants to kind of throw, and I mean, I get, okay, but everyone wants to throw who under the bus, and it's like now that, they get rid of that coach, whose name is totally escaping me right now.
It's escaping me too. I know he's now the coordinator somewhere else, but and he actually coached me at Syracuse, and it just escapes me. But I know they got rid of John Elway too, so who knows kind of what was going on there.
It's weird because it's like his play didn't really get better when they got rid of him, and so I guess for me, I'm looking at Sean Payton, and I know everyone's going to give him all the credit in the world, but if Russell Wilson comes back to Russell Wilson, does Sean Payton really deserve any credit? Like, maybe it's just Russell Wilson wasn't Russell Wilson and now he's back to his normal self. Why would Sean Payton immediately be the first person to credit when maybe it was just a bad year for Russ and maybe I'm wrong and he's not going down? But anyway, going back to this original point, it's more the Raiders than the Broncos. I trust Russell Wilson more than I trust Jimmy Garoppolo, injured, not injured, Aiden O'Connell, who I'm a little excited about. I'm not going to lie. I think Aiden O'Connell has a chance to start and actually be the guy in Vegas. Yeah. But the problem is he's a rookie. And just throwing him into the fire like that, I do have an issue with that. But when I look at the Broncos, they go out and they get your guy Marvin Mims. They have KJ Hamler. They have Marquez Callaway, who they grab. He played with Sean Payton with the Saints. And in front of those guys, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, right? And then you look at Greg Dulcich, who I'm very excited about, going into this year. He was a rookie last year, 3rd-round pick in 2022. And then you have Javonte Williams. They go out and they sign Samaje Perine, who I think is incredibly underrated. He was so important for the Cincinnati Bengals last year. And I just think that, right now you have those guys. You have a defense. I mean, I really like the look of their defense. I think they have some really key pieces. They go out and they get Drew Sanders and Riley Moss both in the 3rd round. Both guys we like. Yeah. I just think that there's too much here, and there's not enough with the Raiders to put them in 4th and the Raiders in 3rd. I don't think it's the Broncos are a great team. I don't know what the Broncos are, but I feel confident saying that they are better than the Raiders, Cam. I really do. And I just think at the end of the day, the one thing I really like that the Raiders did is went out and got Jacoby Myers. I think he could have a really good year, but it all falls on the quarterback. And, I just don't, like, where are we going with Jimmy Garoppolo? Like, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? He's never healthy. You have Brian Hoyer, you have Aiden O'Connell and Chase Garbers, okay? I mean, there's just not a guy where, like, you have to have something. I don't feel like they have an elite defense. They have question marks in the secondary. And it's like, I don't know, Cam. I don't know. Maybe I'm too hard on them. You tell me.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Raiders, I think just the defensive line. We talk about the line in general. Picking up Tyree Wilson, the way he picked up the commissioner, right, almost broke his spine, right? Like, I think the Raiders' defensive line is going to be a beast. I'm curious what they're going to do with Chandler Jones, Max Crosby. We talked about him. He's in our top 5 pass rushers. So I think they're going to be dangerous on the defensive front. I think they're going to force some turnovers. And I know too that last year we talked about the Raiders. They couldn't really stop the run like that. They can run the ball, but they couldn't stop the run. So hopefully with some of these additions, they can get that done. But like I said, I got them as number 3, Jake, instead of number 4. Then we got the Broncos at 4. And then you talk about Jimmy G. Jimmy G's been slapped in the face, right? Not by the 49ers. I know the 49ers had to move on from him, but he had a rough go, right? Last year he had a rough go. He ended up stepping up and proving that he's still that guy. I know his foot's hurt, and I know he has some things to work on physically, but he has Brian Hoyer behind him who's going to keep the train moving. I think not like Brian Hoyer is going to step in and, throw for 5 touchdowns a game like that. But Brian Hoyer has been around the block, right? He's been with the Patriots he's been around great organizations. So I have confidence that Brian Hoyer is going to be able to teach Aiden O'Connell, right, how to step up and take the helm if he needs to. So, when it comes to Aiden O'Connell, Jake, he's my guy, right? He's my guy, tall guy. And I think you might have compared him to the quarterback from the line, Goff. Goff.
Cam, he's wearing 4. They wasted no time at all, and they gave him Derek Carr's number. I don't know how I feel about that, but
if he's the guy, Jake, I saw the way he plays, right? You talked about that Goff comparison. Goff went number 1. I love the way Aiden O'Connell, he's able to disguise a lot of his run to pass options. So I think he's going to fool a lot of people. I know some of the knocks for him is when it comes to pressure. He doesn't do really well in pressure. Well, one thing I will say, in practice, he's going to learn how to get that ball out because he's going to have guys coming for him. And so I think Aiden O'Connell, Jake, I have a good feeling about him. I had a good feeling about him. I think the Raiders are going to be all right. They're going to get through that first half of the season, maybe with Aiden. He's going to get coached up really well. And I do think Jimmy G's going to step back in like he did for the 49ers, save the day, and push things along. So I like the Raiders at number 3. And then, like I said, back at 4, I looked it up, but Nathaniel Hackett was the former head coach.
Nathaniel Hackett,
shout out to Google. But Nathaniel Hackett, he's now at the Jets. So he's the quarterback whisperer for Aaron Rodgers. I think he was a big reason why Aaron Rodgers went there, outside of, I'm sure, Sauce Gardner and him advocating for him. But Sean Payton, you think about Sean Payton, you think about Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson's going to have I think I mentioned it, but the comeback player of the year type of mentality, where he's going to be clicking on all cylinders. Jake, I think we talked about some of the people that they picked up. You mentioned Marvin Mims, right? Running a 4.38. Like, come on, fam, coming out of Oklahoma, winning 55% of his passes, of his contested catches. So that's a great target for him right now. I hope Russell Wilson is in the gym with him right now as we speak, right? Throwing him passes, getting him ready to go. Sierra's doing the 1-2 step on the sidelines, and they're getting it going. And then Drew Sanders, Jake, we talked about his ability. I think he was at Alabama at first and then transferred. Home run type of linebacker. He's able to blitz the quarterback, able to intercept the football, and I have a feeling he's going to be on the Pro Bowl on a Pro Bowl team at some point, Jake. Whether it be the next 3 years or so, but I think he's one of those linebackers that we need to keep our eye out for. And then Riley Moss, he's stepping into an elite defensive back group, Jake. I mean, Patrick Surtain, Damari Mathis, he's going to get coached up really fast. I mean, Chris Harris was on their podcast, and he talked about how he had Hall of Famers, Jake, that he was playing with, that really Brian Dawkins and really showing him the way. So I think Riley Moss is going to get some of that similar treatment with Patrick Surtain being back there. So the Broncos, how many wins that they're going to get this year, Jake? Like you said, we're not going to talk about it, but just from these past couple of years, it hasn't been good. They've only been winning about 5 games in the past couple of years, 7 in 2021, thankfully, but only 5 to 7 wins. So that's why I have them where they are, but who knows? They might turn a new leaf. We'll see.
No, I'm with you. I think the one that'll be interesting, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, is that secondary for the Broncos, because Damari Mathis, he struggled at the beginning of last year, but I think it's the way he ended last year. You saw he was playing with some urgency and some confidence. I mean, he was a 4th-round pick playing as a rookie and asked to take a significant role, and now you look at him and he's going to be there. Kawan Williams, you have Pat Surtain, obviously. And so what happens after that? You have Riley Moss. And I think what is being overlooked here is that I think Riley Moss does have a shot to win that job over Damari Mathis. I'm not saying he will. I would take Mathis because he was in the locker room last year in the NFL. Like, he's already, been on the field. But you draft a corner in the 3rd round, like, that corner has a chance to play, day one. And I think that's the thing. Like, typically the cutoff is rounds 1 through 3 are guys that can start. And anything after that is kind of not miraculous, but it's uncommon. Like the Jordan Fuller starting for the Rams his rookie year as a 6th rounder. You just don't typically see it. Chris Carson, 7th rounder with the Seattle Seahawks. Like, you don't typically see that. That's not like a common thing. That's not like the way it is. Sometimes guys just show out. So basically what I'm saying is...
Or an injury too. You're an injury away from...
Or an injury.
Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, I think playing off of Pat Surtain is going to be a lot easier. But I think it's still, that secondary could be a little tested. And I'm really curious to see what kind of role Drew Sanders has. I think looking at, Josie Jewell and, you have Alex Singleton, over from, Philly, and he's a really good linebacker that doesn't get enough credit. Drew Sanders, I think, can start day one if they need him to. Yeah. He shouldn't have been a 3rd rounder. I don't know why he was. Randy Gregory, I think people forget, comes in late last year, was able to really, he made an impact. He was the only one that was really able to put pressure on the quarterback.
He's a baller.
And then Baron Browning, who, man, it's weird. I love Baron Browning as an off-ball linebacker, and I feel like they just love his pass rush ability so much that they're going to keep him there. But, man, I don't know what to make of him, because I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he's more of an off-ball linebacker, but it's almost like what they've done and what they've drafted, he doesn't even make sense to play there because they already have too many guys there. So it's kind of like, yeah, he's our pass rusher. And I think it's also why, they go out and they get Nick Bonito last year, right? So they have him, they have Browning, and then of
Frank
course
Clark.
they signed Frank Clark. And
Yes, sir.
I think that's another thing. I mean, he has the familiarity playing against this, this division twice a year, from his time with the Chiefs. But it will be interesting. I think when you look at the Raiders, my biggest concern, and I'm not saying I'm like super concerned with the Broncos secondary, but my biggest concern on the Raiders side after the quarterback is the offensive line. I mean, I look at that offensive line and I'm like, all right, like Colton Miller, I like Colton Miller, right? But aside from Parham and Colton Miller, what do you have on that offensive line that makes you go, yes, like we feel good about this. We feel strong. We're going to be able to protect Jimmy Garoppolo, who is, always getting hurt. Like I don't feel good about this. Andre James at center. You got Alex Bars. I'm not saying they're bad players. Jermaine Illuminor. Like, I'm not saying any of them are bad, but you don't have anybody where I'm like, yup, I don't have to worry about that. The only one you do is Colton Miller and Parham to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders, and one thing, Jake, I will say, I think I mentioned about Aiden O'Connell, but that offensive line is going to get way better in practice because the guys that they're going to be lined up against, right? And even going back to the Broncos, we talked about some of their issues on the offensive line. Well, I think just with the new regime that's going to be in place, I think people have a different sense of urgency. And then flipping back to the Raiders offensive line, they know they might have to start with their rookie quarterback. And we've seen it with the 49ers as of last year. If you don't have an active quarterback that's going to be in the game, you might as well just not throw the season behind you, never give up. But it's like that. And so I think just the message for these offensive linemen, hey, we have to tighten up. We have to protect this rookie quarterback. We know he doesn't take pressure really well. So in practice, let's make sure that we are sharpening our toolkit, because if not, the Raiders could be at number 4 and the Broncos, like you said, could be at number 3. So it's a give and take. And I want to go back to the Broncos a little bit. The defensive line, you mentioned it, Frank Clark. I think we talk about the defensive line being a complement to the defensive backs. And our guy Chris was here the other day. He was talking about Von Miller when he was at the Broncos, right? And it was like he told Von to shut down that defensive line or a certain side of the field so Chris could be successful on the back end. So I think Randy Gregory, Frank on the edge, I think that's going to cause some problems. And I do think the defensive backs for the Broncos are going to benefit from that. I think the ball's going to be thrown up in the air a lot more. And even going to like the kind of like the revenge game, right? The Broncos versus Chiefs. You think about how Bobby Wagner tore up the Seattle Seahawks when the Rams played the Seahawks last year. So I think we're going to see that a bit with Frank Clark. And I think the Broncos are going to have some fire underneath them when they do play the Chiefs twice this year. So we'll see, Jake. It's an interesting group. And yeah, man, we're just gonna have to see where the chips fall. But like I said, I got the Broncos still last in the division, unfortunately, and then I got the Raiders at number 3 because I think Aiden O'Connell is going to be that guy, and their running back room is excellent. The defensive line is excellent, so I think they're going to find some ways to win football games.
Yeah, I think those two are kind of just battling for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah.
As blunt as that sounds. I mean, I think for the future, there's some things to like about Denver's defense a lot. They have some fun guys in the receiving room. Obviously, Russell Wilson's not really a future guy. He's just kind of the here and now. For the future, I think with the Raiders, you get excited about guys like, Jacoby Myers, who you just signed for, at 26, who I think is underrated. You get excited about Zamir White, the running back, the 4th-round running back out of Georgia, that I don't think gets talked about enough. I think he's going to be the backup behind Josh Jacobs. Not like it makes any difference. They're going to have him run 400 times, but if last year was any indication. But then I think, you get excited about guys like Trayvon Merrick, and they went out and they signed David Long Jr., who hopefully can help out their secondary a little bit, and Divine Diablo, who is, he has a great name, but aside from the great name, he's somebody that went from safety and transferred to linebacker. So, the hope is that he can continue to that transition, get better. And obviously, you go out and get Tyree Wilson, and Max Crosby is one of the best pass rushers. So there's some stuff here, as well as Aiden O'Connell, and, potentially if he can develop, as well as, Mayer. But as of right now, going into 2023, I feel very confident saying those are the two bottom tier teams. And I think anybody would really agree at this point, just the way it is. But with the Chargers, who we both had 2, and the Chiefs, we both had 1, we'll start with the Chargers. The offensive line still doesn't, you talked about the offensive line with the Raiders. The offensive line doesn't feel great. Zion Johnson, you go and you spend a first rounder on last year. And then you spend a first rounder on Rashawn Slater, who looks like the real deal. I mean, the question is he already the best or one of the best tackles to ever wear 70? I mean, that's a legitimate question. I mean, he is phenomenal. I think his issue is staying healthy. Corey Linsley in the interior at center, great signing. Then you have guys like, Sawyer, a 6th-round pick last year. In an ideal world, is he your starter? He's not horrible, but is he your starter? Trey Pipkins, you couldn't have upgraded there. I don't know. My thought process is that this offensive line could have been upgraded a little bit. I think that they were also in a weird place where they didn't know what was going on with Austin Eckler, and we talked about that. What's the deal? Well, now we know he's going to be here for a year. They go out and they get Quentin Johnston in the draft, kind of. I think is going to replace Mike Williams, because I know he's there right now, but I don't know why you would have 2 of the same guy. I think Mike Williams eventually, whether it's injuries or, they'll just end up moving on from him, makes sense to have him. Yeah. Darius Davis.
I like Mike Will, but yeah, Darius
Davis is the guy that you mentioned. He at TCU. Josh Palmer, I think we kind of all forget. A guy we all forget. 100%. No one remembers this guy, Jalen Guyton. But Guyton is that field stretcher. He's the guy. Where's Guyton? Oh, he's already downfield 40 yards. That. I mean, that's him. So I don't know. When I look at the Chargers, Herbert's got plenty of weapons. Herbert could have a little bit better offensive line. Dude needs to not break his ribs this year. They need to take care of him. And when I look at the defense, I'm like, man, there's not really many holes. I mean, we could get picky, right? But at the end of the day, there's not really a ton of holes. They go out and they add Eric Kendricks. I'm very excited about that. That's a great move. Eric Kendricks is just a model of consistency. Guys, always atop the list with linebackers. Always plays at a high level. You look at guys like Sebastian Joseph Day. So they have the flashy Khalil Max of the world. But then they have Morgan Fox, Sebastian Joseph Day, Alohi Gilman, who's underrated, JT Woods, who they got last year. Guys that are they don't get talked about. Jasir Taylor is going to take on a bigger role. I'm excited about, for him. I had the, opportunity to interview him before he, went into the NFL. So, I like his game. But I think the Chargers, it's always been, they have it on paper, Cam. They do. They have to put it together on the field. I mean, we could talk about they could use this, they could use that, but at the end of the day, Gerald Everett's the tight end. You could say, oh, yeah, it would be nice to have Travis Kelce. Well, you don't. And Gerald Everett's okay. Gerald Everett's okay when you have Keenan Allen, Mike Will, and Quentin Johnston, right? And you have Austin Eckler, who is one of the best pass-catching running backs in the league. So, Cam, I'll say this right now. The Chargers, they look good. I mean, they look good. I'm not, like I said, we can get picky all we want, but at the end of the day, and right now we're just looking on paper because we don't really know what to make of 2023. This team could shoot out and be the number 1 team. I mean, we don't know. But this team looks good, and they need to put it together on the field.
Yeah, no, I agree. You talked about looking good on paper. The draft looked great. I think we gave them an A- or something like that for their draft. So that was excellent. And you think about the track record the past 3 years, talking about games won and games lost. I mean, they've been about 10-7 the past 2 years. In 2021, they were 7-10. So they turned things around a little bit this past year, got to 10-7. This upcoming year, I can see them kind of getting to that 10-7 range, or maybe even, 11-6, right? Kind of bumping it up a bit. Because the Kansas City Chiefs, they won 14. They went 14-3. So, of course, they went to the playoffs and made it happen. But the Chargers, I think they have a chance, Jake, like you mentioned, to kind of run the table up a little bit. Kansas City, Eric Bieniemy's gone. How does the offense change? What does that look like? So the Chargers could have a chance to step in there. And you think about the Chargers, you talk about their draft. Keeping Herbert healthy is very important. They have to make sure they sign him too as well, get him locked in there. But Max Duggan, right, from TCU, I think went to the championship, right? And having him as a backup, I look at I want to say I look at him almost as like an Aiden O'Connell as well, because I think Aiden O'Connell is going to probably step in right away and make it happen. But if Herbert does go down with another rib, he has a guy like that, like Max Duggan, to step in with that red hair. Jake can step in and throw some touchdowns and and be the energy captain for his team. I think that's really important. And also, you go back to the draft as well. They also drafted 2 other guys from TCU. So think about how they're going to be running up, Jake, against the first team defense. I'm sure Max Duggan is going to give those guys fits with his guys, to have some people that can stretch the football field and run down, like you mentioned, like Quentin Johnston and Darius Davis. My man ran a 4.3. Jake, like, come on, fam. Like, running those crossing routes against the number 1 defense. Like, good luck, Eric Kendrick, trying to guard that. But I think, they did a good job in the draft. The Chargers did in getting some guys that are familiar with each other. And then I don't want to forget about on the defensive side, Tuli Pelosi from USC. He was one of my guys, Jake. He when it comes to sacks, he was leading the Pac-12 in sacks. We cannot ignore him, and I know he can get a little bit bigger to play that 3 technique if he needs to, alongside Sebastian Joseph-Day, Morgan Fox. So their defensive line is looking super dangerous, my guy. Bosa stays healthy, Max stays healthy. I think that defensive back room is going to be really happy, and I think the offense is going to be happy because they're going to get the ball more often. So you talk about weapons, you talk about having an arsenal. I think Herbert is well equipped there. I think Max Duggan running the second team offense is going to be well equipped there. So I like it, Jake. You talk about the Chargers giving the Chiefs a run for their money. I like that concept. I like that thought process. And then, you talked about just going back to the defensive side. Eric Kendricks. I mean, we can't overlook that. We talked about our top 10 linebackers. I think he was in my honorable mentions, but he's someone that's been on the top 100 NFL player list the past couple of years. So they've really bolstered their team with that. So, hey, man. And I know Drew Tranquil left and went to the Chiefs, right? So they got Eric Kendrick. So they're filling those holes. Like you said, there's not many holes on that team. I know the Rams are in LA. The Chargers are in LA. Who's going to be the king of LA? The Chargers are looking mighty fine here, Jake. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah. No, I hear you there. I think really what it comes down to is that when you look at the Chiefs, and I'm not even going to lie, I got a spider crawling right here, like right on my freaking mic stand.
Oh, wow. Oh, they see the Spider-Man costume in the back. They think you're Spider-Man, buddy.
Do you see that?
No, I don't. I don't.
It is massive.
Oh, really? I mean, You go ahead and wipe it away, brother. Wipe it away. We don't want you to turn to Spider-Man on live TV.
Yeah, I'm not about that. I'm not about that. I don't even have anything to like crawl in that.
Yeah, you got the Spider-Man costume right there behind you. So can you show us, Jay? Because I can't really see it. Oh, yeah, that's a healthy size spider there, huh?
Yeah, it's bigger than it looks.
All right. Jake did not turn into Spider-Man. It's all good.
We're all good, man. Oh man, I tried to keep my composure and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And that'll come back to try to kill me. So all right.
Chiefs.
So anyway. Biggest irrational fear I have is spiders. So to be fair.
I didn't know that. My buddy doesn't like spiders. He likes snakes. Like he went walking. Quick story, Jake. While you kind of he went walking in Atlanta, like climbing with his lady, and he was like, okay, pictures of snakes, like black snake, whatever. But then like he was walking down this path and saw like a bear statue, like it was kind of sitting real still. It's like, like they're being silly. It's the statue of a bear, but then the bear actually moved and kind of ran away. So. he was like, I was shook, but like he's more shook when it comes to spiders. If a spider comes in the room, he's jumping, he's screaming. But bears and snakes aren't really a thing for him. But I'm glad you got the spider out of there, my man.
Yeah, no, that was, I don't know. I was playing some Hogwarts Legacy the other night, streaming that, and just the spider mission with the legs and no, I can't do that. Anyway, what I can do is talk about football. That's I'm good at that. Dealing with spiders, not so much. Kansas City Chiefs. All right. This is not a roster. I saw an interesting little article that came up on Google doing my regular research, and it was that the Broncos have a better roster than the Kansas City Chiefs. Better looking roster. Now, I don't know if I agree with that, but what I will say is that I get the premise. The Chiefs roster on paper doesn't blow you away. It does not look like a super team, does not look like a dream team or anything like that, because most of these guys aren't household names. But when you look, Trent McDuffie, stud. L'Jarius Sneed, Justin Reed, Brian Cook was an absolute monster in college. A second rounder last year. He might not have had the best year in his rookie year. He'll be back. Jalen Watson, the 7th rounder that started in the Super Bowl, stud. Nick Bolton is becoming quickly one of the scariest linebackers in the NFL. Yeah. Willie Gay, another stud. Charles Omenihu, stud. Chris Jones, one of the best, if not the best at his position once Donald leaves, right? Derek Nottie, George Karlaftis, they go out, they get Felix Anudike-Uzomah, they draft Tramari Connor for the back end of the secondary. Then you look at their offense, and they got Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round, absolute stud. Going to be a top 10 running back at the end of this year, probably. Yeah. Jerick McKinnon. Can't forget what he did as a pass catcher out of the backfield last year.
Yeah, Jet.
Deneric Prince. I'm hearing good things about this guy out of camp, Tulsa. I don't know, man. Patrick Mahomes. I think at the end of the day, the thing that makes the Chiefs so dangerous, aside from the obvious Patrick Mahomes, that offensive line. I mean, Donovan Smith, I'm a little iffy on, and we've talked about that. Yeah. But you got Jawan Taylor, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney. Those 3 guys in the interior, Cam, makes it so easy to run in between the tackles, in between the guards, up the middle. It's like, I don't care who you have in your running back room, but now you're telling me you got Isaiah Pacheco, who we know can play, and then you go out, and the receivers, do the receivers strike fear in you? There's no Tyreek Hill on that. I mean, am I scared of Marquez Valdes-Scantling? Sure, if he catches the ball, sure. 4.2 speed or whatever, crazy thing he runs, great. Kadarius Toney's never healthy, but he's explosive. If he stays healthy, he has the potential to be awesome. And then Sky Moore, I'm not as high on, but he played well when needed, and he, had a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
That jersey number is that 24.
Yeah. And obviously, Travis Kelce, go with the offensive line, Patrick Mahomes. The one guy, and we're going to go right into the sleepers here, okay? Rashee Rice. Because he's the best receiver in that room today. Yeah. Already, that guy is going to be a problem. He is going to be a problem. I don't care what anyone says. When they got him, I'm not a huge fan of his, going into this draft. I had a pretty decent grade on him, but it's not like I had him in my top 5 or top 3 of wide receivers. I'm not against him, But when I saw they go out and they get him, that 6'2", 200-pound body, and the way he uses his body to basically pluck balls out of the air and to catch it at his highest point and everything. I just watching him SMU, big number 4 is going to go and get it. And Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to be pinpoint accurate, but he will be pinpoint accurate. But he could be a generally accurate quarterback. And when you have that type of, that catch radius that Rashee Rice has, you don't have to be pinpoint. And that's the thing, Patrick Mahomes is going to make his life easy. And so I just think that for whatever reason, and maybe because he wasn't a first-round pick, but I don't think he's getting talked about enough. I'm not seeing him everywhere. I should be seeing him all over Twitter Everyone should be taught this guy's going to win Rookie of the Year. This guy's going to be better than Garrett Wilson. I'm not seeing any of that, Cam. I'm not. And so I think he is my sleeper for the Chiefs.
Okay. Full stop. I like it. I mean, it's going to be on Nagy to make sure that, you draw some plays up for him. And you also mentioned Rashee Rice. He's not getting love now, but Jake, trust me, when that season kicks off, he's going to be everywhere, right? You got Patrick Mahomes throwing to you. So at the end of the day, he's going to be the one scoring the touchdowns if Travis Kelce is not. And he's going to get the shine there. So, I mean, my man ran a 4.5. Jake had a 41-inch vert. So, like, that's daggone impressive. And two, some other, notes on him is he, of course, great the deep ball, but then he's great in the screen game as well. And you think about Patrick Mahomes, he loved that screen game. So if he's breaking tackles and pushing the ball forward in the screen game, and you think about the other weapons that the Chiefs have, like that makes them that much more dangerous. And then one other person, Jake, I think we didn't mention that the Chiefs do have, and we talk about the roster, right, not looking better than the Broncos, blah, 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 but they got Andy Reid, my man. Like, you got a Hall of Fame coach at the helm. And at the end of the day, it starts at the top. And so you got him at the top, Patrick Mahomes following, you're going to win some football games. I am a little bit worried about Eric Bieniemy not being there, but like I said, Nagy, he kind of has that locked down. But they're still going to be dangerous. I still think they're going to win multiple games. They're going to be in the playoffs, and we're going to see them probably at the big dance again. So, Frank Clark leaving, that's gonna be a blow on the defensive side. Because people don't really realize when it comes to defensive ends and the impact that they have on a football game. So Frank Clark, he's definitely going to be missed. I think that can't be overlooked. He's going to the Broncos, and I do think he's going to have a revenge game soon. But talk about Felix and Udike Azama. I think he was one of your guys, Jake, right? Just the way he rushes FAU, the way he rushes the passer, it's unbelievable, and they see that in him. Like you said, you talk about like this team not being sexy, and that's okay. Because I think about the Patriots when they beat the Rams back in the Super Bowl. That wide receiver room wasn't – they had Edelman maybe, and some other guys, but like it wasn't too crazy. But they still were able to put things together because at the top they had the proper recipe. So you talk about some of the sleepers, Jake, and I mentioned these are the glue guys, right? These are the people – you think about sometimes you think about in a corporation, Jake, the CEO, he or she says yes or no and like kind of approves things and like goes about their day. But it's the people that are under the CEO, the people that get the most shine, that are actually doing the grunt work. And, my person for the Chiefs that I think who does the grunt work, who doesn't really get that much shine, but he shows up and shows out, Justin Watson. Coming out of Harvard, Jake, I play with him at the Buccaneers. I know his work ethic. I know what he brings to the table. There's just one play that comes to my mind when I think about Justin being on the Chiefs, and it was a punt return. He called fair catch, but when he called fair catch, he realized that the crowd was kind of quiet. He's like, give me hype a little bit. And just to see his growth, Jake, because he's a super quiet guy, Justin Watson. He's kind of chill, but to see his personality evolve through the screen has been really cool. And he's going to be a sleeper, Jake. He's a person that, this guy playing wide receiver, he can't really do much, but he'll find his way behind some defensive backs really quickly. And you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes who's going to throw him the rock. So I think that says a lot. So Justin Watson, special teamer, offensive guy, someone that you need in the locker room to move things forward. You're seeing a lot of stuff going on right now, Jake, with this gambling stuff for the NFL, and glue guys like this, like Justin Watson, are going to be like, ain't no way I'm betting in the locker room, right? He's going to do the right thing often, and guys like this are what make teams go. And my other sleepers are similar to Justin Watson, that they're going to always do the right thing and push the team in the proper direction. So Justin Watson, I got him as my sleeper.
I like it. I had a chance to interview him at the Senior Bowl at a UPenn. I mean, Come on, the guy had to work his tail off to get noticed. And I mean, the fact he was at the Senior Bowl out of UPenn is definitely something. Looking at the Chargers, I already mentioned him, but I'm going to bring him up again. Jasir Taylor. He is my my sleeper here. And the reason being, 6th rounder last year, didn't really get a lot of burn. I mean, he's really like a special teamer. He, by all accounts, every report I've read, he is winning that nickel job. He is going to start at nickel corner for the Chargers. Now, Michael Davis, right? Asante Samuel, those guys are locked in. J.C. Jackson is still not healthy. That's the word. So since J.C. Jackson is still not healthy after a season-ending injury last year, and they're probably going to take it easy on him because they gave him a lot of money. They can't just, if they lose lose him for another season, it's going to be brutal. I think Jasir Taylor is somebody to look out for. I think when you see the speed, he's just really, really intelligent. Like, he knows where to be on the field. He knows how to read leverage, things like that. And he knows coverages, and, just like listening to like his coaches talk about him, he's like, that kid doesn't talk a lot, but man, is he a heady guy. Like, he knows what he's doing. And so, I think that's an easy sleeper for me, because it's hard to give a sleeper for the Chargers. Like, everybody knows about every single, but I mean, without going with the obvious, one that I think a lot of people will choose, and I'm not going to say it in case you hit it. I had to go with Jasir Taylor.
Jasir Taylor, we talked about it before, Jake. Just J.C. Jackson being down, you're an injury away from being that guy. And also, Chris Taylor told us about it. But if the big money man goes down and you're the backup, let's say you're undrafted, you have to know everything. You have to be heady. You have to know what's going to happen before it happens. So just to hear you say that, that's really cool, because Chris Harris confirmed it last week. Like, you got to know what the route concepts and what's going on before they happen. And he's going to get great practice, Jake, right? He's going to get his sword sharpened going against guys like Mike Will and that it's explosive, wide receiver room. He's going to get picked apart. Herbert's going to pick him apart. He's going to have his day in practice. But someone, Jake, that I want to call out for my sleeper, and I know they just drafted Tui Tuipulotu, so it might change things for him. That might affect, his playing time. But Sebastian Joseph Day, he's one of my favorites. I know people do know who he is, right? He has his own podcast, his own show. He's out in the media. He's doing his thing. But he's someone, Jake, that I think just people do overlook, right? He's on that crazy defensive line with Bosa, Mack, and whatnot. And so guys like him and Morgan Fox, they have to find a way to carve a lane, right? To carve a lane and show that I do belong. And Sebastian Joseph Day, he's been doing it since he's with the Rams, coming out of Rutgers in 2018. So he's someone that he's one of my favorites. Like I said, I've done some broadcast boot camps with him, and on the field he's found success. Off the field he's found success, and that's someone I'm constantly rooting for. So keep an eye on Sebastian Joseph Day. I know last year he had 2 sacks, 37 tackles. So I think he's getting better and better as he progresses in his career. So I think just this upcoming year, he's going to be the sleeper. He's going to be the guy. So Sebastian Joseph Day is my guy for the Chargers.
I like it. That was not who I said was the obvious. The obvious one's Morgan Fox. Like, he screams sleeper, right?
Yep.
Broncos, I'm going to say Damari Mathis, right? We talked about the beginning, struggled to start the season. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And he really finished his rookie season, his rookie campaign on a high note. While I still believe that Riley Moss has a shot to win that job, I think that when you look at Damari Mathis, I think he's a sleeper here, because I think he can really transcend that talent to another level. And I mean, if he builds off that end of 22, I mean, look out. I mean, he's going to be a problem. And if he's a problem, it's only going to make everyone around him better. And Pat Surtain already makes everyone around him better. So it's like you have that, it's like a double bonus. It's like we're playing a card game and I just used a trap card on you, and you're taking 2 away, and now I'm getting 2 in return, because basically having a guy like Damari Mathis, if he can get to that next level, his impact is going to make everyone better, but also Surtain is already making everyone better. So it's a double whammy that you love to see. But yeah, I just feel like he definitely deserves some more credit, because I went back and I watched some film, and like I said, the beginning of the year was not good. Like, his biggest issue when you watch the tape, he's grabby. Okay, he's going to get pass interference calls. I'd like to see him be a little bit more feel a little bit more confident about his own abilities. Like, don't reach, man. Like, you're in a good position. There's too many times where he was in a good position. He got flagged 4.5 times for pass interference. He's got to be better with that. Keep in mind that happened earlier in the year, and he was better, but he needs to keep what we saw at the end of that year. We need to see moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what comes with that is preseason training camp, right? Like how well was he sharpening his toolkit? What did that look like? Was he kind of chilling a little bit until the season started? Then like, all right, I'm gonna turn it on here. And it is also tough, Jake, when you're losing many games, you got high expectations and things aren't going your way. First time head coach Nathaniel Hackett. So there's and Patrick Surtain, right? Talk about his gameplay. It wasn't as the best, right, compared to his previous years, probably because of the situation and the environment that they were in. So, we'll see how things change, and it starts at the top. And one person I want to bring up here, Jake, one of my sleepers, and we talk about the unsung heroes, and Chris Manhertz is my unsung hero, is my sleeper for the Broncos, someone that has went from the Carolina Panthers, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now the Broncos. He's someone who played basketball, Jake, coming out of college. My man was playing basketball at Canisius in New York, and then found his way on the NFL roster with the Panthers. And whenever I had a chance to go play against him, he was always on the goal line, inline blocker. He's someone that always does the right thing. I've had the pleasure to get to know Chris and his wife and my fiance. They're good friends. They're wedding and all that. Chris is a smart guy. We talk about heady. He doesn't really talk a lot. He's not extroverted. He's more introverted, but he knows what he's doing. He knows what the next person is doing. And anytime, and this is the message that I want to send to people, is when you know your shit, you're going to be that means trust. People trust you. That means they trust that you're going to carry that Bronco brand or whatever brand it is to the next level. And Chris only has about 24 receptions, Jake, in his career. So you think about tight end, catch the football. But no, he's great at blocking, great at special teams, and he is a sleeper. He's a glue guy. He's someone that you want in your locker room. Jake, you're not going to find him sports betting, right? We've heard about this, like Calvin Ridley, like he's went through that, and guys are still getting busted for it now, but he's not going to be on those lists. He's going to be someone, I think, too, Jake, when he's retired from playing, you're going to see him in the front office. You're going to see him like that Troy Vincent role where they're making the game better and pushing the game forward. So got a lot of respect for that guy, Chris Manhertz. Shout out. Sleeper.
I like it. And then now we got the Raiders to wrap this thing up. I got Jakobi Meyers. I talked about him. You can tell I was kind of leaning in that direction. I mean, hell, when you have a player at the level of Devontae Adams coming out and saying, man, this guy wasn't getting enough credit in New England. Like, he should have gotten the ball more. I agree with him. I was sitting there like, I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and I was like, man, we're not talking about this guy enough. And then sure enough, getting to see him with the Patriots just each year, like, getting up to 700 yards in his second year and then hitting 800 in back-to-back seasons. And, oh, well, the season prior, he wasn't able to find the end zone really. He only had 2 touchdowns. This year he has more. It's like now he's in a better situation. I think he's going to have a really good year, with the Raiders. And I just think when you look at a guy, he's kind of the total package of just, he does it all. He's not going to be a superstar, but if he's somebody that could, have 1,200 yards receiving and just, not get talked about, that he'd sign up for that. He's kind of just, he knows what he is. He is more known, as sad as it is, as good of a player as he is, he's more known for the, the the lateral back to the Raiders, and now obviously the jokes were going to ensue when he threw away the Patriots game to the Raiders, and then he goes and sides with the Raiders. I don't know. I think the Raiders fans love him. Out the gate, they're like, "Oh yeah, sign him up." But
he wants us to win.
In all honesty, though, I always liked his game. Good route runner, good hands catcher, doesn't bring it into the body, does the little things, blocks well, right? You just don't hear about him. The whole receivers or divas thing, you don't hear anything from Jakobi Meyers. So I don't know. I'm excited about him out of NC State. I mean, I think, 26, he got his contract, and I think he's going to ball out. And I think it's going to make Devontae Adams' job a little bit easier. I think it's going to bring Hunter Renfrow a little bit back into the forefront. He had a little bit of a down year. And I think it'll be good for the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, and also, too, one person that I didn't talk about when it came to the Raiders, Michael Mayer, they're tight end, right? So you got different weapons that the quarterback can throw to. And we talk about a quarterback. For me, my sleeper is the quarterback, Aiden O'Connell. I think I know people are expecting him to step into that role, and what's going to happen with Jimmy G. Jake, I think he's him. I think he's him. I have a good feeling that Aiden O'Connell is going to really blossom and figure it out. You know, we talk about the Jared Goff comparison. Jared Goff went number 1 overall. So the fact that he's in the same breath as him, as Jared Goff, I think that says a lot. You think about, too, when we get to the Lions, the sleeper might be Jared Goff for me. I mean, I know he was a former first-round pick, but he kind of had a fall from grace, I would say, after, you know, hitting the Super Bowl with the Rams and getting totally crushed, and I would say folding under pressure. Jake, I watched that game, and Jared Goff, he got his bell rung a bit, and I think the lights were kind of big, but he turned things around when he went to the Lions. So I hopefully Aiden O'Connell has a line to a guy like Jared Goff, like, hey, how did you do it, right? How do you get this done? Thankfully, he has Brian Hoyer in that locker room, so he doesn't have to call too far. We talk about the Patriot way. We talk about you know, Myers coming from the Patriots. Well, Hoyer was there too, and so they're going to have that connection, which is great. And then they're going to be able to pass that down to Aiden O'Connell and say, hey, you know, this is how we did it there. These are some of the routes that he likes, so try this out. And so I think Aiden O'Connell, I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And he has to. Playing for the Raiders, Jake, he has no choice but to ball out because he might get death threats, my man, if he doesn't. So, you know, I won't say it's a lot of pressure, but, you know, you're playing in front of the black hole in the Raiders, and people don't know they have, you know, some of the more intense fan bases along with the Eagles and, you know, Jets and the Giants. So Aiden O'Connell, a big shoes to fill, but I have faith in my man.
Yeah, I mean, kid flipped you off, right?
yeah, little kids did. Most definitely. My family had to wear daggone Raiders gear when we played against them. So yeah, that fan base is a beast. And being in Las Vegas, you got gambling, you got a lot of other things out there called Sin City. So Aiden O'Connell, buckle up, my man.
Man, that is funny. So I think that's gonna do it. We'll wish a happy birthday to Dan Deerdorf, who is a Hall of Famer, a legend, 3-time Pro Bowler, or 3-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, all 1970s decade team. And Hall of Famer, turned 74 today. Played his entire career with the St. Louis Cardinals. And no, not the baseball team.
Right. Hey, shout out to Dan. You said 1970s all-decade team. Hey, you know, happy birthday, man. Live it up. My man, Dan.
My guy played from 1971 to 1983. So, yeah.
Beast.
Absolute beast. 160 games.
And they didn't have that many, you know, recovery techniques back then, Jake. So to play that long, they probably had leather helmets back then. So it's pretty daggone impressive.
So that's going to do it. This has been episode 29, Off the Edge. Hope you guys enjoyed this AFC West preview. I think we hit on everything that we wanted to. Yeah. I don't know what division we're doing next, but we'll do a division in the AFC next. So that's going to do it. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. You can check Cameron Lynch out at Cameron Lynch 50 on Twitter. You can check me out at JK Bogan and check out the show at Off the Edge Show. We'll be back soon. Until next time, you guys take care.